Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Monday night, 8 p.m, the Online Darts Live Lounge returns. Myself, Phil Bars, Jack Garwood, and Dan Simpson are here for the next couple of hours to talk through everything darts has happened in the last 7 days. And the breaking news is that, yes, Gob finally has internet down on the South Coast. Gentlemen, good evening.
Sorry, what? Pardon?
It's a pleasure to see you in real time, Jack, and not on a 15-second delay.
I mean, I'm not still fully in. I do have a router right next to me, but I'm not hardwired in because I haven't set the rest of my desk up because I fell asleep.
Standard.
And I'm also debating buying a new desk. So I don't want to get both my monitors back up and everything else and then start building it and wire it in because I get my cable management is on point, but it takes a long time just to go, do you know what? I'm going to stick a slightly wider piece of wood in this gap where my desk is in a week's time.
Fair enough. But how are we, gents? All right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Done in today. I've been off work for a week, which was delightful. I had a really, really pleasant week off work. I had a week off work to do nothing, which was bloody marvellous. But then today, I've gone back into work to 200 odd emails, loads of stuff to sort out. So I was back to earth with a bang at 5:45 this morning when I dragged myself out of bed and pulled a shirt and tie on. But all right, yeah, plodding along.
2024. Who the fuck is still wearing a tie to work? Grow up.
Oh, mate, we got a strict dress code where I work.
That's just for the kids. What about you?
Right, this is popular. You've got to have some accountability. You can't be expecting other people. You can't be expecting to say to people, you have to wear a jacket and you have to wear a tie. If you were stood there, looking scruffy, you've got to look smart, haven't you?
Teaching them for the future to do what no one else does in any profession these days, unless you're in court.
Yeah, I'm not a teacher, so I don't have to worry about. But I do wear a tie for work. I do. I wear a tie most days, actually.
Right, let's jump in the chat room. Let's say hello. Malachite is in. Owen, Salesman, Kieran, Adam, how do? Craig, Mark, Warren, Carl from Darts Track. Hope you are good, my friend. Good to have you in as always. Hope you are well. Cameron, Daniel, James, Shelley is in. Chris, Tom, Matthew. How are we doing? Now, don't worry, we're mentioning England against Iceland. Salesman says, hey, Phil, Gob, and Dan. And of course, Anthony is in all the way in Texas. Hope you are good. My friend, evening, Max. Look, plenty going on in the world of darts right now, boys. Another World Series event checked off. Going Price back in the winner's circle. Challenge Tour action. WDF stroke England darts action. Matthew Edgar's video blog of the weekend is also quite topical because we're going to talk about something that affected him massively as well. Just lots going on in the world that never sleeps, boys.
It's been a busy all week, hasn't it? In Planet Darts.
Never a dull moment, is there?
Oh.
Right, let's go straight in. Gary Price back in the winner's circle, and I don't think this is too much of a surprise to people. We've been threatening this. The overall game has been good, and now it's converted into a win in the Nordic Darts Masters. Were any of you surprised to see Gary Price lift a title at last?
Has he not been threatening the exact opposite, to not bother with non-ranked events? I think to say he's been threatening it, I think he's been threatening to not turn up at these events, hasn't he? Never mind threatening to win them.
Someone else gone first. That's exactly where I'm going to go.
Go on, you can have it, mate. In you go.
No, don't get me wrong. The form has been very, very good, but he used the last Euro Tour out in 2 winners' interviews on stage to go, I feel great now that I'm not focusing on non-ranked events. I'm not going to play in them. I'm not bothered. X, Y, Z. Bang. Wins a World Series. Oh, it's great to play in front of you fans. I love these events. Lying bastard.
We'll come on to that in a minute, but the actual result of him winning a title could be the catalyst that Gary Price needs to go on and rediscover the Gary Price of 2020, 2021.
It's the performances, I think. It's not just, I mean, Yes, he's won a title. I mean, yes, he's won a title, but let's just, be realistic when we're referring to winning a title. With the greatest respect to the Nordic Darts Masters. But what he has done is he's rattled together 4 victories over some fairly game opponents. He's averaged over a ton 2 matches. I mean, 102 and 105. He's rattled off 2 games in a row. He's beaten, Rob Cross, who has been one of the best players in the world this year so far. He's played some amazing stuff. Michael Smith, again, Premier League finalist. Dimitri Vandenberg, UK Open winner. He's beaten, Madas Rasmussen's game as they come well. You can't, he's took a hard route. He's beaten some players who are arguably in far better form than him, and he's done it playing good darts. I think those series of things will probably mean more to him than lifting the trophy at the end. It's whether or not he can convert it into games that matter. Because being, again, with the greatest respect, these don't. This isn't, it's not ranking money. It's not pulling him. It's not qualifying for things. It's not helping his seedings. It's not helping him defend money that's going to drop off. It's whether he can do it when it matters. And at the minute, we're not seeing that from him.
What he said.
It's not, but it's the catalyst of what it does winning on TV for me. I fully agree with you that, yes, look, they're not ranked X, Y, and Z. They could be classed as a televised title if you wanted to, but it's what that winning feeling does for Gerwyn Price. For me.
The only people that want to class these as TV titles, let's just put this out there, by the way, the only people that ever want to or need to class these as TV titles are those that need to justify their position in the Premier League when they're selected next year without winning anything else.
Agreed.
The same way that Raymond van Barneveld justified his position for the last 5 years of his career by saying he's the world pairs champion. He won my favourite event, the World Cup.
It will be frustrating, I think, if we end up, come next February, discussing the fact that that's the justification of him being, he's done sod all since, but he's in the Premier League because he won the Nordic Darts Masters. Because yes, he played well and he beat some players that have shown some form of late. But that weekend, for me, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion as to who they want to see in an exhibition, but for me, that doesn't justify a Premier League pick. He's going to have to do a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, and Nan says, is this the same show that predicting Gazzy's retirement a couple of weeks ago? I'll stand by that. I don't think we see Gazzy playing professional darts in 5 years. Him winning this hasn't changed my mind on that. I think that he will be in and out very, very quickly with the sport. But over the weekend, also, did the Nordic Darts Masters give us more questions than when the tournament started?
I'll tell you what it did give us before we get into it, because I'll probably let Gob talk more detail about darts. It did give us another, and they are one of my favourites, Mr. Vegas stage. I think the Mr. Vegas stage, it's a thing of beauty. Like the Mr. Vegas, it's up there at the minute with what's currently our current annual cycle. Mr. Vegas is right up near the top. So if nothing else, it gave us that.
Correct. Other than that, I'm not really sure. The two Lukes are the two Lukes. I still think they're the dominant pair in the sport. Rob Cross putting together some lovely, lovely performances. The absence of Van Gerwen, look, we know he's taking a bit of a break. I don't think it left us some more questions. I think there's a question as to perhaps why we're in this region for a World Series and the relevance of a World Series. But not necessarily on the dartboard. I think the players who expected to go deep went deep. No Littler, no Van Gerwen makes a big difference. I thought Bunting got his shot. He didn't quite run with it, but let's be honest, Rob Cross for the last few weeks has been virtually unplayable. Yeah, that's about it. The takeaways, really.
How many do we continue labouring with and we keep labouring with Peter Wright at these events? Because like he's out in the first round again, like he's not managing to reach the level of the local qualifiers.
He's shown glimpses the last few weeks, Pro Tour form and runs on Euro Tours and whatever, but something seriously got to change. The fact he was sat at the end of this Premier League campaign going, I'm all for bringing the youngsters in, but I want one last shot. You've got to go and earn that shot. And at the minute, he is miles away from doing that.
He is. And you know, I mean, so you look, obviously, we appreciate we're missing Littler and Michael Van Gerwen this weekend just gone. But, and arguably, you know, Bunting and Dimitri Van den Berg have come in, like neither of whom, I mean, look out of place. You know, Bunting's been beaten in a quarter-final by Rob Cross, and he's averaged a ton in doing so. Like, realistically, can you make a solid case at the minute for upcoming World Series events that Peter Wright is the better shout than Stephen Bunting? Other than that, like, I don't think there is one, because I also think that Bunting has a good level of crowd appeal. He works into social media better than nearly all professional darts players do. You know, if it's a bit ruthless, and I appreciate these things. You've got to predict them a little bit because tickets go on sale well in advance, and you put people on a poster, and you know the card is subject to change, isn't it? And for me, I'd probably look at giving Bunting, because whilst he has gone out to Rob Cross in the quarterfinals, I think we can all acknowledge that if we keep putting Bunting into these World Series events, he'll win one sooner or later. Because his game is at that level, and if he finds it 3 games in a row, he can compete with anybody in there for a weekend. I
mean, if we take this conversation back to November, December, I was sat here calling for Wright to be absolutely nowhere near the Premier League for Bunting on inclusion. Now, I understand why he was picked. Scottish influence, 2 nights up there, and the fact that he was the only other player not named Luke Humphreys to win a major in the second half of last year. But he still wasn't playing anywhere near good enough to justify that inclusion on the dartboard.
And he hasn't done anything since.
8 months later, like, he's saying exactly the same thing.
That's it. And how long do you go on carrying on, you know, keep booking him those slots based on his walk on? Like, if that's what it means to you, then somebody needs to then start to produce better walk-ons for other players. They need to work with the other players and produce better walk-ons. If that is something that you know you want to be a main feature of your events.
And look, this isn't just pick on Peter Wright, because there's
absolutely not.
Well, Barney had way too many chances towards the back end of his career. It's like, oh, here you go, you're a big name. The point is that yes, it might be working with fans right now, but if you keep pumping out the same 6 to 8 players over and over again, playing the same matchups, you're not going to go and garner these new fans that you were interested in. You're not going to bring these people in because the man's got a funny haircut. And in the process, you're going to wind up actual darts fans or people that have been fans for a long, long time that have seen this over and over and again, that are aware that dart players exist beyond the 12 players that they roll out for the events between January and July.
But the other thing as well is it, and again, it's not just pick on Peter Wright there, but to go back to the original, like the first point or the first question that Phil asked about, you know, what does this do for Gerwyn Price and what is it, you know, how do we see it? Well, it's diluted by that fact, you know, the fact that we are still looking at players that we probably think don't deserve to be there, and there are people that would play better if they were picked, and they're getting knocked off by the local qualifiers. And well, does that not dilute what Gerwyn Price has achieved? You know, does it not dilute what winning one of these events is? If that's what it's become, just a sort of like, yeah, sure.
It's interesting. One of the other massive pluses from the weekend is Mater's inclusion on the World Series broadcast team has elevated it massively. Again, the 3 they had this week in Dan, Mason, Webby were just world class.
It's a proper elite level team, that dream team for me. And then I appreciate everyone's got like their preferences. People like different things from commentators. That's the nature of sport. In terms of what those three offer, I think that's as good a team as you can post. There are other people who are at that level, but that's as good a team as you can assemble, in my opinion.
I think it needs it when the presenting is what it is.
Look, Ali can present. I think she deserves time to learn darts first. If it's no different in 3 or 4 tournaments' time, agreed. But the lack of other presenters, she can present. So she, as in her presenting is okay. Just needs to learn the sport. And I think that needs to be given time.
I'm not sure about a lack of other presenters.
All right, a lack of other presenters that aren't contracted to broadcasters that they can't be used.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's it.
But look, that's what happens. If you're tied to a broadcaster and these events aren't on that broadcaster, that's always going to happen.
Yeah, and that's going to continue to be the case for these events unless the PDC comes up with something more stable in terms of a broadcast agreement in the UK, isn't it?
Right, we've got a couple of points. Well, first of all, we're going to hear from Price after winning.
Yeah, I'm just trying my heart out to win a tournament, and it ain't get hard. Last week it was the same. I was just trying too hard to get over the winning line, bombed the chance, and fair play to Rob, took his chances. I thought the exact same was going to happen today. So yeah, I'm just glad I played well at the back end of the game, slipped up in the middle. Yeah, another trophy, and I can just forget about it now and just roll on and just like another day at the office. I'm playing, like I said, I'm playing pretty decent. I just need to stop being so negative in my head and missing loads of doubles, because you keep thinking like, this is going to keep happening. So yeah, just positive from here on in now. I'm playing well, big scoring and checking out. Yeah, I mean, my scoring games there, I think I'll live with anyone. I don't think everyone can live with me when I'm scoring. You got the one or two like Rob Cross and Luke Humphries, those sort of boys that always on their game, and Rob's playing fantastic. Rob's a great friend of mine, and I've just got that in with him last week. I needed to win this because a little bit of bragging rights is always practice with him. Yeah. And yeah, if I go into the next one, it's like, it's frustrating, but I'm just glad of this one.
He's also been to the Vincent van der Voort School of Moving on interviews.
Oh, mate, the worst interview I ever did was Vincent, because he's just so big. You frame it up and then he takes half a step forward and his chin's just sitting in it.
But it was nice that Price spoke about thinking positively as well and mentally thinking about his game a little bit more. I like that approach from him.
20 grand's 20 grand as well, isn't it? Like, I know we keep saying about Price that he's got his properties and he doesn't need the money, but I don't care how rich you are, 20 grand's 20 grand. You're going to be pleased for picking it up.
Yeah, 100%. Off the bits you were talking about, or we were talking about players, I've got some clips. First of all, one from Bunting.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Just certain, practice regimes or something's not right. But yeah, it's a quick fix in my opinion. I think I know what the problems are and I can iron them out and I'll be ready, like I said. But it might not be as quick as tomorrow, but we'll see. I'll be ready.
Just a little bit about winning not coming as easily for him at the moment, and just trying to iron out those little kinks into his game, because it's not the same Stephen Bunting as it was 7-8 weeks ago. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very good Stephen Bunting, but it's not the one that looked like he was going to go on and win galore. Do you know what I mean?
Next question. There's a question to this rather than an answer or response. It's how many times have players outside of the inner circle, shall we say, picked up their darts in fury in the last 8 weeks since he was playing well? Once.
Yeah.
One Pro Tour weekend in that time. And a couple of Euro Tours.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. We're going to speak to Rob Cross because, in his own words, the swagger is back.
and I'm getting out there. I've got a swagger about myself, and I just want to win. That's plain and simple. Whether I do it with all the big flashy lights and all the great endings, or I go up there and I get the job done, both's good enough. But I want to perform, you know. But life's good. Life's good. Couldn't treat me any better.
That Bobby Cross swagger, as you just called it, is that the same swagger that you had when you went on in 2018?
I ain't going to say it is the swagger. I still think I'm a little bit off here and there, but it's very, very close. Probably the closest I've been. And you know, I come out, I'll get me work done now. I changed, like I said in my last interview or whatever, I changed my little regime. And I feel fresher. I'm going out there, I'm concentrating, and when I'm doing that, I'm putting big numbers in, I know. So, yeah, on to tomorrow, and hopefully it stays.
That's a big smile he's got right now, isn't it?
He looks great. And I think it's just about giving Cross time now and not raising that expectation level too quickly along with this. Not everybody can win every single time you step up on stage. The two Lukes are making a show of it. Gezzy's back playing lovely. There's so many quality players that Gary Anderson is still with one of the best running averages of the year. He's missed the last couple of Euro tours. They've been a ball ache to get to. It's what Gary turns up. We can't just go, right, Rob Cross favourite, Rob Cross is favourite, because he's going to be in some battles, but he looks magnificent right now, in great touch.
He looks like he's a threat for everything, isn't he? Like, you're not going to make him the favourite. Let's be honest. He's not going to be the favourite. He's not going to be the second favourite for any tournament he enters this year at all. But he is a major threat in every event for the rest of the year. And it wouldn't surprise me if he picked something up. Wouldn't surprise me if he picked up more than one thing. Because especially when you think that Littler is going to go into some big events unseeded, then that, like, because if the Lukes meet before the final, let's be honest, you've got an open half of a bracket, haven't you, completely? And Rob Cross for me at the minute is in that driving seat that I'd probably make favourite to come through that bracket. You know, if the Lukes end up on the same side, that's where my 50 pence will be going for the match play. Will be on Rob Cross, because he just seems at the minute to be able to turn it on, and he can play both Lukes, and he knows it.
He also is one of the players out there that knows, and has done in the past, that he can win titles with his B game. You look at his list of majors, how often he was actually on it during those majors. Some of them were shocking. Yeah. But he found ways to win those. And look, we're seeing his A game a lot more right now. But if he knows he can still get over the line with that B game, because he's done it before in European Championships, or he's done it before in UK Open campaigns, which bloody hard tournaments to win, by the way, especially that UK Open, all on the same day, that quarter, semi-final breakdown and whatever. That's a big worry for the rest of the field right now.
In tour card race as well, he's provisional world number 2. If Littler doesn't win the World Championships this year, like, Rob Cross his game's where it is. He's almost a banker for the Premier League next year. So he's coming back to the Premier League darts again next year. He's going to be a regular fixture in World Series events, as he, because we know he's often struggled to find the consistent performances that have won him big titles in the past, and he's peaked and troughed throughout seasons. You do feel, though, that he's sort of hitting a patch of his game at the minute that he could maintain for a period of months. It's really exciting to see for those that don't have to play against him anyway.
100%. I'm going to play Michael Smith, and then we're going to decipher, because it's a funny little story, this one.
Definitely, that's one of the worst I've ever felt. I know I lost her last year first round, and then I won it the year before, but losing against Jeff, I let everything get to me. I let what he was doing get to me. I let myself get to myself, and yeah. So today I had to prove a point, and if you look at my social media, I put out saying I need a big performance today to get myself picked back up, and luckily enough, it was a big performance today, just 2 sloppy bits, but everything else was perfect today.
That's unlike you to let things get to you on the off. Normally you just block all that out. So what happened last week?
When he was walking past me, he's called the silencer for a reason. He was walking past past me were talking. They were doing this every time we went past, stamping, and I said to him after the game, I went, listen, please don't do it next time. He went, I won't. So he admitted it to me. Then I've seen his interview with you. I said I was accusing him. So why admit it and then do it? But it's one of them. It happens. I won't moan on stage because I look like a baby. I said it to him after the game, just man to man. He admitted it and then denied it, and then yeah. But for that now, it's not taken away from that performance. Now I played well.
So, are we going to play detectives? Because party number one is saying one thing, party number two is saying the other, and then they're both saying, no, it didn't happen. Or I love it when there's something like this, because normally you can see it, and it's obvious. Obviously, what happened in New York, Jeff said that Michael was unhappy. He hasn't done anything. Michael was then said this. Jeff has obviously listened and heard the interview and said on social media, he's talking bollocks. I never said that. It's great, isn't it?
I mean, I'm with Jeff tomorrow, so this is a slippery slope for me.
I don't know. We're not saying one's right, but they're both saying different things.
I think this is a case of one of those situations where there may or may not have been little things going on, but they're things that you don't normally notice or that aren't an issue if you're playing at a reasonable level. And Michael found something that he wasn't comfortable with when he's taking a drubbing playing crap.
Yeah.
What he said.
It happens. I mean, I can go to Super League, be 2-0 up, and then I can hear someone open a crisp packet at the wrong time if I hit a 45, and suddenly that's it. All hell is breaking loose, and they're a complete disrespectful knobhead. Like, you spot those things when they're a trigger, or you notice them a lot more when something's not going your way.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that is exactly what I think that I said it last week and I still stand by. I find the suggestion that Jeff Smith was engaging in some level of purposeful gamesmanship very, very hard to believe. But I can completely see how somebody who is not having the best game of their life, under pressure, getting a bit of a whooping, having travelled across the world for the pleasure of taking that whooping, could become hyper aware of every little creak and noise on the stage, and perceive that, like, everyone's perception of a situation is their own, and they are going to disagree. Like, if Jeff Smith hadn't purposefully engaged in gamesmanship, then he's going to fucking hold that line. He's going to keep saying I fucking didn't. And if Michael Smith perceives that what he has heard was that, then he's going to stick to that as well. What Michael Smith has to, I suppose, the only thing Michael Smith has to do is he has to be sure in his own mind that before you accuse a person of something like that, you've got to be comfortable, like, making that accusation and confident that you're right, because it's a big thing and bold thing to chuck at somebody, which is a long way of saying what he said. Like, it is that sort of, yeah, not for me.
Oh, yeah, it's just one of those ones where I like it, where it's like this. Right, we've got two more to come out of the Nordic. We'll do this one first because the other one may be interesting.
The official cutoff date is not this week, but after Poland. PDC is looking at all sort of ways. I'm here, I'm standing here, and the only thing I can say is that I've got no knowledge. I know that Kim is in an injury. I know that our contract with the PDC stands that you need to prove that you can be at 100% ability to play. So, yeah, I'm standing here as number one from Belgium, as you say, but I've got no more knowledge than who is going to be my partner. There is a reason why it says to be confirmed, so they got to be busy with it behind the scenes. But so far, I'm busy with this tournament.
What does he think they're busy doing? Fucking regrafting his fucking collarbone.
I thought it was interesting that the bit that said in the contract that needs to prove that he is fit to play. Where beforehand, we always assumed that it would be on the player, where it was down to them. If they said they were fit, then it would go with that call. But having been there the weekend, speaking to a few people off camera, I believe that if there are any doubts that he's not fit, the decision will be taken out of his hands.
Surely he just has a medical. And the decision, surely in a professional sport, the decision whether or not someone's fit to play or not isn't taken by an administrator. Surely he gets a medical.
He will have to medically prove he is 100% fit.
Yeah, just like a doctor's going to have to say yeah or nay, isn't he?
But here's the caveat to that: should he be playing this week, these Pro Tours without that same medical slip? Then,
well, no, of course not.
But he is.
Well, then he's fit, isn't he?
Well, he says he is, but what happens if he goes and loses 6-0, 6-0, and averages 65 in both games?
That's the best of his ability right now.
But if a doctor said he's fit.
But has the doctor said he's fit, or is he just going and playing because he's a tour card holder?
Well, then, if that's the case,
the line that said he'll be able to throw, but they are worried about his ability to put force through it this time. But if he can get through that and he can hit the dartboard, then it's his decision, surely. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The minute there was a very early point where Dimmy said, "I have no knowledge," and I sort of zoned out after that because that was all I needed to hear from him.
But why? How? What's this contract that he refers to that the PDC have that distinguishes? But why is there some sort of asterisk that where the rules for a players' championship and the World Cup are different in terms of your medical fitness?
Well, I don't know if they are, but I don't know.
That's what I mean. Like it doesn't. I don't know
whether the Pro Tours get upheld as stringently as the TV events.
No, I just it for him to specifically refer to the contract. You know, like the contract. Yeah. It would. The way he says it doesn't sound like that would be, you wouldn't have an asterisk next to it that said like except for the World Cup or except surely it's either one thing or another. Now they are again, they're not employees, they're contractors in technically, aren't they? So they are responsible for ensuring their own health. Now, it seems like a right kind of words because surely if the PDC have to impose a medical on Kim Huybrechts or choose to and say he's got to prove he's 100% fit, why didn't anybody else? Why hasn't Dirk van Dijvenbode had to do that at any point this year? Why doesn't Nathan Aspinall have to do that when he's had problems with his wrist? We know, let's be brutal, Nathan Aspinall has played major events with the PDC knowing he wasn't 100% fit. Might have been 97, wasn't 100. I just don't get where this asterisk comes from around the Belgian team in the World Cup. It seems like there's just always a shenanigan around the Belgian team at the World Cup. And someone
it's brilliant to watch, though, isn't it?
Oh, don't get me wrong. Oh, I'd have another. And if you could interview me 6 more times about it, Phil, that'd be brilliant. But my suspicion would be in each of those 6 interviews, we'd get a slightly different interpretation as to what the situation is.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that's my point. Is that should he have to be 100% fit to play tomorrow?
No. Well. It doesn't really make any difference. For me, all that matters is the rules should be consistent. Whatever the rules are for him playing tomorrow should apply to the World Cup and any other event and any other player. I don't think it's fair that Kim Huybrechts has to prove something that Nathan Aspinall, Dirk van Dijvenbode or Michael van Gerwen or anybody else doesn't have to. I just think that's unfair. It's not how it should work. You've got to have parity across the board. But for me, he definitely should be playing because it's far more fun for us to watch them two play. Like 100%.
Well, that moves us on to another good point because we are going to play this one, and this is more interesting. We'll talk on it in a minute.
Can I swear?
I'll bleep it out for you, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm in a bad place, but I'm trying my best. I'm trying to keep going for my family, and yeah, I'm in a bad way, but I'm trying my best.
Is it a reoccurrence of the original one you had a few years ago? How did you put that to you back of your mind and try and play to the best of your ability?
Just remember why I'm doing it, you know what I mean? Try and put a smile on my face. I'm in a lot of pain. I've got a lot of issues at the moment, but yeah, we'll keep fighting. I've got the right people around me, the right family around me. But yeah, I'm struggling. I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm still winning games. You know, I'm still taking the best to the wire. I'm still beating the best players in the world with half an arm. So I take the positives from that. But yeah, I'm not in the best of places at the moment. You know, I don't want to waffle on because obviously 2 years ago was bad, but this is worse.
It's a good job he's not in the World Cup, isn't it?
Well,
where's he giving this interview? At a non-ranked World Series event? Fuck are you doing there for? If your wrist is genuinely that bad, then surely your focus for now, whilst you get back on the mend, should be ranking events. Protect your position so that if you have to have a period of time out, you return in a solid position. Not
tomorrow,
take your appearance fee and run with it and then cry about your wrist.
He's playing tomorrow, isn't he?
He's on the list. But the tone in his voice doesn't sound great at all. He was almost in tears talking about it. Which suggests to me this is a very big concern.
It's really difficult. It's because it'd almost be easier to analyse and talk about if he was playing shit. But he ain't. Like he's just gone all the way through the Premier League and barely missed out on finals night. He's winning matches. He's going to these, events and he's winning games there. He clearly doesn't feel right, and there's something wrong with it. But I really like Nathan, but it's really difficult to sympathise if the answer to his problem with his art, and unless it is not a physical one, but if the answer is going and playing unranked exhibitions, I don't know what the problem is. What's the question if the answer is playing unranked tournaments in Denmark?
How do you cut your career even shorter if you're struggling with an injury on the basis of handouts?
Or is he genuinely worried that it's career threatening and you take every penny that's on offer because it may not be anymore?
I think that's quite short-sighted and poorly advised.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Only because, you don't know what comes next after darts, do you? For anybody, you know what comes next, and if it is career shortening, there's lots of other things that people can do. And what you don't want to do is cause yourself more undue physical pain for an extra $3 or $4 grand. In reality, it seems badly thought out if that's the case. There are far more lucrative things that he could be investing his time and money into than trying to get through a quarter final in Denmark to pick an extra couple of grand up. He seems to be definitely struggling. Definitely. And it's not an enjoyable thing to watch. It's enjoyable to watch play darts, but those interviews are a tough watch. but it's just incredibly difficult to analyze because normally when we talk about someone who posts an interview like that, it's because they've been battered 6-0 for 4 weeks on the spin and they can't fucking hit the board. Whereas he is, like he says, consistently mixing it and beating the best in the world, which makes it very difficult to even know what angle to come from, doesn't it?
It is, and it's a really intriguing one because the match play's on the horizon, and look, we don't know what the injury is. We know he said it's worse than the one 2 years ago, and we know what he went through to play at the World Championships. He had that much tape on his wrist just to get through. Now, if it's as bad, do you sacrifice the match play, have something done now, or do you try and defend your match play as you are, then you have whatever needs doing done and hope to be fit for the World Championship?
It totally depends on what the injury is and what the possible solution is. If it's surgery or if it's cortisone injections or whatever that may be, it all really depends on what it is. It is frustrating if he is battling an injury but not managing his schedule and his workload to do what he can to improve it or to potentially recover from it. That's what I find confusing. Doesn't appear. It appears that he's got an injury, but and again, I'm not a doctor, but the small bit I know is that when you have an injury, there are different ways of recovering from it. Generally, they're not flying to Denmark and doing the sport that's potentially triggered your injury. And fine, yeah, that's all. But we're not seeing really him manage, and we don't see a lot. We've talked about this. We don't see a lot of schedule management from the top players in darts. I think we should see more. I just think we should see more of that because they should be a bit smarter about what they do and how much they play and how much they save themselves for different events and how they physically recover from what is an underestimated toll that their bodies, undergo. But if he just keeps playing everything and averaging 100 all the time and beating people, it's difficult to see and really analyse what happens next.
Well, the problem is, we saw it last year with this same person. He got his schedule wrong. He missed out on the Players' Championships. His Pro Tour.
He's going to do it again. He's going to miss out on the Players again.
If he's got an injury like this and he's going to play World Series events in Denmark, and if he flies to Poland and whatever, and he goes, "Oh no, it's too bad to play a Pro Tour in Hildesheim this week," or whatever, he's going to put himself straight back in the same position. Which means if in 3 months' time his wrist is okay again, he's either chasing Pro Tour events at the back end of the season like a madman, or putting himself under way too much pressure in the major season. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. But also, is there a fear of if you say no, you're not going to get picked again?
I don't think for
not with his world ranking projection, because the top 4 get invited pretty much to any and all of them anyway. If you back yourself to be there, and if it's for a genuine risk, if you say no, I can't be asked to travel to Australia, that's a little bit different to actually. Do you mind if I don't go to Poland because my wrist is about to snap in half and I need it for the rest of the year?
I also think that's a different question. That if it's not Nathan Aspinall, we've talked about people, we've talked about Peter Wright, we've talked about Gerwyn Price, we've talked about people, cuspy for the Premier League, cuspy for World Series events. Realistically, if Nathan Aspinall is in the top 6 in the world, he's going to most of these events, isn't he? He could have a year off and come back and be there because people like the way he plays. The crowd get into it. His walk-ons there. He plays well. He interviews well. He's a good in terms of the image of darts, the way that he presents himself in his personal life and everything like that. He's an asset to darts and to the tour. So I wouldn't have thought that would be. I wouldn't have thought he should. Whether he does or not is down to him. I wouldn't have thought he should feel under threat in terms of his position.
The only reason I say that is on the tour card race, he is provisionally world number 6. However, between him and Bunting in 11, it's one good run on TV.
Yeah, there's a good chance, looking at who's under him as well, there's a good chance if he doesn't pick up a semi-final, he's outside the top 10. If he doesn't pick up a major semi-final this year, he's more than like, just because you look at who's, I mean, Hetter's above him, but Chisnell just underneath him, Luke Littler steaming in, Stephen
Bunting started to play well again.
Yeah, Noppert's not a million miles behind, and Danny Noppert is consistently there or thereabouts. Like, Danny Noppert will consistently make last 16s of majors. He will, he will pick up a quarter final, but depending on how the brackets go, and they will start to, and he's Nathan's defending money as well. People will start to make further inroads on him,
and that's why I say that is it on his mind. Because all of a sudden, if you're 10 or 11, that's a lot harder justification.
Not if your name's Peter Wright.
Well, but that's probably why I might not be as worried if I was Nathan, because he knows that Peter Wright's probably going to be outside the top 20. And that's where the conversations will be. It will be, well, it won't be, you're not going to remove, you're not going to, like, as long as the conversation for those events and, is surrounding Peter Wright, it's not about Nathan Aspinall. I think Peter Wright could ask, he can shield him, Aspinall and Price maybe from some of those conversations, because he's going to be some way off, right, in terms of his ranking. And obviously, we don't expect him to pick a major up. He could do, but I think that might just shield some of the others.
Yeah, look, it's interesting, and that moves us on to the Pro Tours returning in Hildesheim tomorrow and Wednesday. Look, again, the list of absentees is fairly big again. People not going to Germany. The Gary Anderson effect rubbing off on Ryan Searle. But what are we expecting over the next couple of days?
I'm expecting three. So he's three little picks. I'm expecting a Gerwin Price win. I'm expecting, because of the levels that we saw from the weekend, at least a board final from Connor Scott, because he was unbelievable at the weekend, some of the darts that he managed to throw. And we will see one of the finest dart shirts on the Pro Tour used for the first time. If anyone's seen Rob Grundy's new shirt, it's class. Proper good. That's that I believe is being unveiled for the first time. So there's my three little gems for the next couple of days there.
What are you expecting, Gob?
Me to ignore it completely because I'm reffing all week. I don't really know. Look, we tend to get the more errant finals, shall we say, in Hildesheim. I'm expecting plenty of top-ups, which are probably more difficult because there's been a gap.
They did, but they all played Challenge Tour at the weekend.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Normally, it's Challenge Tour for a couple of days, and we'll play Pro Tour the Monday, Tuesday. Now, you've got to fly those Challenge Tour players back into Hildesheim, unless they've been made aware a lot earlier. So it depends how late players pull out as to how easy it's going to be to fill those top-ups. If they're still in the country, then it's fine. If they've left and come back and you go, oh, by the way, jump on a plane and go back to exactly where you were 48 hours ago.
Challenge Tour was in Leicester, wasn't it? Well, Challenge Tour wasn't even in Germany this time.
Oh, yeah. Well, even worse then. No, never mind. Close enough. I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, look, I'm expecting Gerwin Price to win one of them. I agree with you there, Dan. I'm expecting a good run from Johnny Clayton as well. I think there's been some signs that he is on the right track again. Joe Cullen needs a good performance in Hildesheim. The last set of Pro Tours, he was shocking. And again, he's one that is slipping down those rankings at the moment. So the Rockstar needs something.
Problem is with Joe, he's created a narrative that he can't play darts in Europe.
There's opportunities there, isn't there? With the names that are missing, there is definitely opportunities. And I'm not saying for a total wild card, someone to come from, outside the top 100. But, for someone who's had a decent, someone like a Damon Heta or a Ross Smith, or, that's where I think we'll be for it. I think Gerwyn Price will win one. And I think the other will maybe a Heta or a Smith or a Chizzy. I appreciate I've made 4 picks there, but I think someone from the top 16 could just boss one of them, because there'll be a few open doors, and there'll be a few people like those that I've mentioned there who'll be able to look at their brackets and think, all right, yeah, that's all right. Fine.
It's also a big couple of days for, just look at how far down I'm going, Jermaine Wattimena, Gabriel Clements, Dirk van Dijvenbode, Cameron Menzies, Mike De Decker, Kevin Dukes, Callum Ridds, James Wade, and Andrew Gilding.
I think you've been very generous there with how far down that list you've started.
Possibly.
And I'm all for it, mate. I love your optimism, Phil. I think it's a brilliant quality. I think you've been generous with how far down that list you were willing to start off.
Where would you have started out of interest?
Callum Ridds.
No, see, I was always going lower because.
No, in reality, I probably, just because of the amount of shuffling that needs to go on and how many people are likely to pick up something over the course of the weekend, because it's you would expect everyone to not blank the weekend. And when you pick up a little bit, it means everyone else has to pick up a little bit more than you and go that little bit further. I think it's all to play for from Cam Menzies up over. So I think Menzies, De Decker, Dukes and Ridds. I think you've got 6 people fighting for 2 spaces. That's what I think.
Well, when I was doing comms on Thursday with Nico, we were looking. Cameron Menzies averaging nearly 97 for the year. If that was anyone else, we'd be waxing lyrical. But it's kind of gone under the radar.
He just keeps running into walls, doesn't he? That has been the problem. Yeah. we stood a metre away at the UK Open Cup and watched him play Gary Anderson, and he just keeps running into players who are playing exceptionally well. He doesn't really seem to have had much of a bad spell himself, but has struggled to pick up wins. We saw it on the Euro Tour stage just a few weeks ago, again playing well. He beat Peter Wright and then Barney, was it, on the bounce?
Yeah.
I think he beat Peter Wright, beat Barney, and I can't remember who then beat him in the round after that. But didn't play badly, just bumped into somebody that was playing really, really well. He's been unfortunate, I think. He's been unlucky.
Yeah, interesting. Right. We've mentioned a name that has been on absolute fire, and that is Connor Scott. Played exceptionally on the Challenge Tour at the weekend. It started on the Friday in Ilfracombe in the pentathlon, where he was it a 21 dart 1,001 leg, 4 180s on the spin.
Yes.
Backed it up on the Challenge Tour.
19, I think.
I thought it was 21.
No, it can't be. 71, 180. Is it 18? He went 71, 4 180s, and then took the 110, didn't he?
Yes, that's what he did.
I thought someone put 21, But look, whatever, it was still exceptional.
But he was absolutely top draw, like at the Challenge Tour. Like not just the event that he won, because he won an event, but then as well as that, I mean, I think he had a quarter final and I think 15, the event on Sunday, he whitewashed. He had a 5-0 whitewash, averaging 109. Like he played some unbelievable darts all weekend. The fact that he only picked up one title was like a bit strange, but just because of the levels that he was able to keep reaching. And he wasn't just winning because he was playing. Let's be honest, there are players who can get a favourable draw in the Challenge Tour, and you can come through a Challenge Tour and go deep in a Challenge Tour by picking up a nice draw. Like he didn't. He just played unbelievable darts all weekend. Really, really positive.
Yeah, look, Christian Kist went back to back on the Friday, something that is very hard to do, and we've seen this from Kist a lot. When he is on, he is still incredible, but it just doesn't have that consistency to back it up day after day because of the injury and everything.
He's going to get opportunities though, because he's right up that Challenge Tour order of merit now. After those back-to-back wins, sit him second.
Does that mean though he's just going to be one of those players that is too good for not being a tour card holder, but isn't good enough to keep it because he's too inconsistent?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, but most likely, unless he can make a real leap forward.
And then Connor Scott and Justin Hood winning the event on the Saturday. Justin Hood, a man that we've seen at the Super Series, do really good things. Happy feet. But is it a coincidence that Connor Scott is playing exceptionally well again because he's playing all the time? Is it a coincidence?
Absolutely not.
He's playing lots of competitive darts, isn't he?
Yeah.
And you know, the proof darts is quite easy to analyze sometimes. It's just numbers. You just look at it. Like if he's bashing up people 5-0 and he's averaging 109 and he's going 18, 19 darts for 1,001. Like his game's there. And again, and that's why like he is in far better form than 50% of the Pro Tour. And I'm not talking about like who he's beating. It's just the level of darts he's able to throw. The darts he's able to put into the board at the minute are better than 50% of the Pro Tour this year. We saw him turning up for events for the next couple of days is a proper threat. I don't think he win, but I would not be at all surprised if he picked up a board final over those 2 days.
No. Will, I'll star your question. We'll come back to that a bit later. But yeah, you look at the top of the Challenge Tour order of merit. Danny Jansen, Christian Kist, Andy Bolton, Connor Scott, Wesley Plaisir, John Henderson, Darryl Pilgrim, Oscar Lakaziaki, your top 8.
Tidy.
Yeah, ridiculously tidy.
Yeah, none of whom would look out of place on tour.
No.
And haven't, really. I appreciate that there's, you know, lost tour cards aplenty among that list. But they've all... We've seen extended periods of all of them, you know, when they were in really, really quite electric form. And if any one of them can find a way to make that consistent and keep that level, they're all dangerous.
They are. But going back to Gob's question earlier, that I'd be amazed if one of the, or 2 of those top 8 don't win the tour cards. But Gob made a good point that how many of these do we think are too good for the Challenge Tour, but potentially not good enough to keep their card and will just yo-yo?
Jansen's in great form, but his action, we've shown that his second season syndrome was really, really tough. Kist, again, we've just said that action has got issues. Andy Bolton is a yo-yo man, historically. He's one we've seen on and off. Connor, I think, will be better equipped to deal with a second shot at the Pro Tour.
My only concern for Connor is what we spoke about, is if he's got a card,
playing darts.
Not playing all the time.
Can't play enough to replicate this form. He's one that needs to play 24/7. If he's playing 24/7, we get astronomical numbers.
But is that, like Dom said there, does he go into that better equipped, and does he find ways
Possibly, yes, I agree. He may be able to find a way to replicate the practice or the time he needs, and I hope he can. Again, Placia, we've seen massive pigs and troughs from him. When he's good, he's very, very good.
Henderson, I think, could keep it, but again, he's not getting any younger. The only one that I'm absolutely certain of the top 8 that would go on the Pro Tour and keep their card is Darryl Pilgrim. Because you put him in that Pro Tour environment and he absolutely thrives. You put him in an environment to go and win that card, i.e. Q School, and it all goes to pot. But the level we've seen from him at the Super Series in the past and the level that we've seen from him when he steps up to play on the Pro Tour, a couple of times now, you think there was one season where he sat at top of the averages from one appearance, 100 average, loses, completely ruins the stats. Dan Dawson's mind is blown for months. Like, we see that level from him consistently, and he's the one that I'd confidently go, do you know what? He'll keep his card in 2 years' time.
I'm 100% with you on there, and we've said it for a long time that once he gets that card, you're not getting it off of him. He just needs to get it in the first place.
I'd be worried about second season syndrome kicking in for Darryl, but I think he'd be so explosive in that first year.
Yeah.
That he'd have less to chase to keep in that second year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Adam, I'm sorting it with Matt at the moment. We will have it soon. Don't you worry. Also, I didn't see a lot of it over the weekend, but the Asian Tour returned. I wish the Asian Tour was on at a better time. Do you know what I mean? So I can put more attention on it. But the time it falls is hard work. But Paolo Nebreda, again, had an unbelievable weekend and starting to show what talent he is. Back-to-back titles in Mongolia.
The fact that Ilagan hasn't made the Philippines World Cup of Darts teams tells you everything you need to know about the current player of Nebreda and Alexis Toiler.
Yeah.
That's unheard of in that region. Him and Malik then were the top 2 guns, and now they're being pushed out almost. Perez as well, obviously got a tour card.
Manlock Low as well were an event.
It is an absolute crime that more attention is not paid to the Asian Tour, i.e. by streaming it at a reasonable hour around the world, or by giving it a World Series event, at least one that it definitely deserves. I know Nico was talking about this on commentary last week at the Super Series as well. The fact we're banging our heads in the Netherlands for a World Series event that is meant to develop and grow the game and draw more people in, who are one of the most dominant nations the sport has ever seen. In fact, outside of the UK and the British are the most dominant nation we've ever seen. But we go there for a World Series, but we don't put one anywhere in Asia when we've seen quality from Japan over the last few years in the World Cup and making the World Championships and pushing people on. The Philippines are becoming an absolute thing. You've got Singapore. Paul Lim won a title this weekend. The man's 70.
Yes.
Why on earth is there no World Series event in Asia? It is absolutely mind-boggling.
It's not about the money. Oh, sorry.
It's ridiculous that it is not there. See, this annoys me as well. It's like, oh, if you can afford to pay for a World Series event, you can have one. It should be the other way around. The investment should be going into those regions and then try and bring somebody on board afterwards. If you go there for 3 years in a row, making a massive loss, then fine. That's when you pull out. But you got to go there.
You look at the others as well that stands out. Obviously, you touched on there, Man Lok Lung winning. Goto, again, we saw what a talent he could be at the World Championships. A good run. And Mikuru Suzuki getting to a semi-final as well. Good to see.
Good timing with the Women's World Matchplay coming up.
It certainly is.
She beat Lawrence Alagan on the way as well, which was decent. Also, there was some darts in the UK. England darts, 2 WDF silver events took place at the weekend, but again, kind of overshadowed stuff off the board than on it. I think it's fair to say across the weekend didn't quite go according to plan. I think it's fair to say.
Are we at any point surprised?
No.
I'm staggered.
As an organisation, it is depressing to see the state of what is effectively the national governing body. Like England Darts should be, they represent the England Darts team at amateur grassroots level. If it's not PDC, it should go for England Darts. They are ridiculously out of touch. Lack of social media updates, technology, pissing about withdrawals again. We had conversations in the last week or so about them refusing entry of players.
I find it frustrating to the point of just like boring. That's the one thing you don't want to be is even criticizing it becomes boring because throughout life, I watch people do things that are incredibly complex and they do them really competently. And I think isn't that impressive? That's really good. And then I think they can't fucking manage an open draw. That becomes too complicated. An open draw is about as easy as you can make it. You put all of the names into a fucking hat. And it's like a tombola. I can teach my kids to do that in 10 minutes. I'm confident I could train my kids to do an open draw in 15 minutes. Yet every time these people get their hands on one, it goes to shit. It's boring. So
the draw itself, the fuck up that happened in the draw, and for those that haven't mentioned earlier, there is a video on Matt's channel. Go and check it out after the live lounge, because of all people to fuck up the draw with, doing it with Matt is almost career suicide, because you know it's going to be publicised. And rightfully so. Oh yeah, I say, and rightfully so. So they did the draw, and they didn't put Matt in as a seed, although they put on their social media following the seeds for the draw. And yet they then didn't put Matt in, and this is where it gets even better. After then realising they fucked up, instead of then scrapping that draw and doing a redraw with the seeds in the correct position, they put Matt in his rightful seed and then bumped everyone else down and left the draw as it is.
Ridiculous.
Now bear in mind, this is before anyone's thrown a fucking dart. It's honestly, I feel like we've just spent, and I do not like it. It brings out a side of myself that I don't like, because I find that I don't like kicking people when they're down, but when they fucking keep jumping off cliffs themselves, shouting at them afterwards. You shouldn't have done that. That was a bad thing to do. Jesus.
As soon as the draw is wrong, it has to be scrapped and done again. You can't then just move people within a draw. You can't do it.
Why is it
I literally spent the weekend as a tournament director, and I'll hold my hands up. I've had to do one redraw while I've been doing the World Seniors. But I had a 20-minute window between events to go from one to the other. A player had withdrawn, they were seeded, or would have been seeded, and then the next player would have got a bye and whatever else. And I literally had my hands up and went, really sorry, guys. I've put a player in that shouldn't be in. I can't just give somebody a walkover because that walk over all that, buy into the next round, should have gone to a different seed. If they're not playing in this tournament, I've got to do it again. And everyone was like, fair enough. It's an extra 10 minutes.
Honestly, it's just like they need an adult. They need just a fucking adult to help them. Like, is there a grown-up that can supervise these things? Like, what? No. Honestly, it's fucking infuriating. Like, there are people, though, this is what pisses me off, is there are people who have, like, travelled, gone to expense. Like, there are people, men, women, children, who are desperately trying to develop themselves and their career, and they are deeply passionate about darts, and they are being fucked around every single time by people who can't find their own arse with both hands. It's not complicated. If you can't manage it, be like mature and wise enough to step away and hand the reins over to someone who can. But like, and as long as you get the basics wrong, like, and this is the thing, like, and it like, and I have to be careful because I don't want to talk directly about my actual job, but organizations, right? When an organization is making fuck ups like that, and it's that badly, like, badly organized, I promise you, there are 100 other things that you can't see that aren't going right as well. Like, there's 100 other things, because the entire result of it, and it's always the same thing that's wrong. It's always leadership. It's always that it's badly led. It's always that it's badly led, and it's broken. Like, the organization is broken. And anyone that says to me it's not badly led, like, they're just wrong, because if that organization was led better, then there would be systems and processes and operating procedures and everything else put in place to make sure that these things didn't happen, or if they did happen, there was an immediate resolution. Or we know what happens when we do this wrong. We do this. Like, there's a grown up that they can turn and talk to and say, "What do I do now?" You do this, and someone's fucking there to take the reins. But that doesn't happen.
The problem is with this one is there's good people involved in England darts. Ridiculous. There's people that have run tournaments over and over and over again, sat there helping, volunteering, and someone else at the top is too busy writing statuses, taking all the credit for Luke Littler and Bo Greaves' success because they play for England twice.
It is also, though, and this is a bit harsh, but it is just the truth. It's just reality. There is a difference between good people and competent people. Like, the world is full of good people. There's loads of them. Like, you meet them every day. They're fucking lovely. Like, they're dead nice. They'd buy you a coffee. They'd do whatever. Like, this world's full of good people. It's not full of competent people. And what organizations need to be successful isn't necessarily good people. It's great when they are good. That's brilliant. But what their core needs to be, before anything else, is competent. And that's got to that. And then, again, that's not just the one or that organization. That's every organization. That's the world that we all have to live and operate in. They've got to be competent, and that's what doesn't come shining through. And there are so many good people that are both involved in it and take part in it, that it's a real shame to see the way some of these things turn out.
Well, I'm going to read you another social media post as well. This was deleted a couple of hours after, no, about 5 hours afterwards, but I get the impression you might have been told to delete it. The England Open, when can they ever get it right? Good night on Friday, the pairs. The draw goes up on Saturday, go to the venue on Saturday, and of course it changes. Not redrawn, just changed, and people added ? Can't say anything like you're manipulating the draw for the fear of being exterminated, for fuck's sake. Appreciate the draw and told it is what it is. Played then on Sunday, 3-3 in our last 32 game. An official starts to take the board down to our right of our game. I say politely, there's a game going on here at 3-3. He laughs at me a minute or two later. Just let us get off. Unbelievable. He then proceeds to try and throw everyone else under the bus, saying, take the balls down off. Geez. Could apologise for his mistake, but no. Just blames others, even when that's what told the game was being played. An hour has passed and the boards are still going on. Low entries this weekend. You go back to Chelsea, that could be good. Let's just hope it runs better.
It's fucking badly led, disorganised, no accountability. No one's accountable.
So, with that social media post, and I haven't listened to Matt's videos yet, but he's going to tell the truth as always, tell it how it is. And I'm guessing he won't be complimentary about the draw because it's wrong. There was someone removed from the entry list. It's on social media, so it's common knowledge now. And the excuse that was given was, Gob, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, due to comments that were made about England darts and England darts officials.
An England darts official, yeah.
So with that post and with what Matt's probably going to not be too complimentary about it, will they then refuse those entries into...
Ah, fuck. I haven't got a chance of being allowed to play, have I? Fuck, I've got rinsing for 3 years.
Officials on social media.
Now, will these get the same treatment as the person that was chucked out?
Oh, well, it's like, I mean, Matt Egger is arguably one of their most marketable players that takes part in their events and has a big following. And like, let's put again, like, if you were the person running the WWF, you would be let's be honest, you're trying to grow an organization, you're trying to bring sponsorship to it, you're trying to bring names to it, you're trying to make people want to play there. You would surely to God, you would find the person that has probably the biggest audience of anyone else that's going to walk through the door that day. Like, I'd be fucking taking him out for tea. I'd be sending him Christmas presents, and because surely you want to protect that person. But now you make a precedent for yourself where you either look like a complete hypocrite, where you were just having a dig at one, you just didn't want that person, so you've selectively decided, oh, well, because that person's done that, and where they can't be allowed in again.
No, I feel like we've teed him up a little bit for this because I'm not sure he knows who we're talking about.
No, but he doesn't. But I also like the fact
that this is good. Keep going, Dad. Keep going on your train of thought, and then we'll spill a little bit more.
Well, this will be fun then. But you can't have. Well, again, you can't run an organization with inconsistent rules. And if that rule is because if you do, especially when the rule pertains to you not allowing players to take part in events, because it just looks like you are just fucking picking and choosing willy-nilly who isn't then allowed to play based on your personal preference and if you want them there or not. So what it tells me is if they like Matt Edgar, he won't get that same sanction, he'll be allowed back again. Or if they want him to continue making videos, if they don't want him to make videos about their fucking shit events, then they probably will bar him, won't they?
Well, I'm actually really pleased, Dan, that you've said that without knowing who the person is.
No, I genuinely don't, and now I'm fucking panicking.
because you've given it as an honest thing. If we just told you someone was chucked out for being rude on social media to an official. The person in question was Samantha Lewis.
Who identifies as trans.
Who identifies as trans.
Oh, fair dues. Well,
and the excuse was used that she was removed because of her inappropriate comments about an England darts official.
Well, there you have it. You have my genuine take on that for the reality, and that is, but it is what it is, though. You cannot, and so now again, how do you then want to be perceived as an organisation? Now, bear in mind, and I'm veering slightly, but there's a football club who a lot of people I'd never heard of yesterday. It's about 3-4 miles from where I live, Thornaby FC. You see both of you nodding. No one's fucking heard of Thornaby ever. Do you know why everyone in Britain's heard of Thornaby today? Because they made a ridiculously poorly thought out decision that was then communicated really badly on social media. And everybody in the country who has a loose interest in sports thinks they're scumbags. That's what's happened. It happened in 24 hours, right? That was it. 24 hours, done. Never welcome again at the table. Now, so what I am now waiting for from the WWF is consistency in their rules. Like, get in touch with everyone who has criticised somebody on social media and bar them from their events, or just put a statement out to say, actually, it's just when we fancy not letting anyone in. That's what we say.
Well, here's one on this. Are we getting close to the WDF having to step in here? Because ultimately, they're the governing body over this. To do something?
When the BDO were messing up draws for major events, the WDF removed the BDO as the sanctioning body.
Correct.
They stepped in. Now, I saw a tweet earlier in the week, someone saying, it was about the Mongolian Open this weekend. And they're like, isn't it brilliant that the WDF are putting on these events and giving players like this the chance? A couple of I think there was a 14-year-old Mongolian that went deep in one of the events, and we're seeing Paul and Weber. That's not technically the case. What happens in the WDF is the nations or the organizations within those countries can apply to affiliate themselves with the WDF, and then they can apply for sanctions and ranking points for each of their events. So the WDF don't actually do it. They're basically, I don't know how to explain it elsewhere or comparative, but they don't run any of these tournaments or events. They leave it to someone else, and then you pick up WDF points that go towards their world championships and their major events. They can remove those sanctions or that affiliation at any point to any of these organizations if they're not following the WDF rules. Now, England will paint it one way. We've seen the comments painted the other way about the removal of Samantha Lewis from the event before this weekend took place. Now we're seeing mess up with draws. It's been rumoured that the England board are quite against trans participation in women's events in there, and now they found a loophole. This is something that has been murmuring away in darts for a long, long time. Now, again, it will fall on the WDF to prove this, but it's getting very, very close to that line where they're gone.
100%.
And then there's no England participation in the home nations. Do you even have a home nations event if England can't play? Do you have a Six Nations event if there's no England team? You lose another silver event from your calendar. That's the worry, I think, is how much England darts contribute and provide to that WDF ecosystem. In that they provide national teams for your World Cup, for your Six Nations, for your home nations and whatever. Not flagship events, but events that actually, whilst they don't have a shed load of TV events, are ones that draw attention to the WDF model and brand. And look, you can go and play for your country. Isn't this brilliant? Scott Mitchell, look at Tom Sykes absolutely flying right now. Luke Littler and Bo Greaves have both played for England. They're big spinning points for the WDF system right now in an era where it's never been more competitive. That's our next topic of conversation.
But as long as that logo is on the top of the England Darts page, then every single shenanigan
reflects badly on the
every single decision, every single so the big letters, you open the website up, England Darts. I was only having a quick look at the diary to see if there's anything I could enter. I just wondered if I'd be allowed. But it literally said big letters right across the top. So you got the WDF logo at the top of the page before you get to the England Darts logo. You know, England Darts recognised as the ruling body for the sport of darts by the World Darts Federation. Big letters right across the top of the website. Which to me, call me an amateur, but that means that all of the above that we've discussed, the exclusion of players, and then the non-consistently of not sanctioning other people that have criticised people on social media. All these various different
video's only been out 90 minutes. Give it a chance. He's got to tweet away on Facebook and send a DM. Which, by the way, was how the player was removed. Not in an official capacity, not via email, not through an England darts organisation for a personal Facebook account of one of the board members.
But as long as that takes place and it's in the public domain that that's taken place, the WDF, until they come out and criticise it, until the DF come out and like hold somebody accountable, right? Accountability again that doesn't seem to be there. It's like they are going to suffer also. Their loss of reputation, that reputational damage is going to be, it's going to carry through to the WDF by proxy, because they're going to be seen to just be allowing this like shotgun approach to being a ruling body, a national ruling body for darts. And let's be honest, like, can you even just the few things that we've discussed tonight, just those few things, and then to use the phrase like the national ruling body? Come on. Really?
Well, off the back of this, we do have some very good news for the amateur game that dropped literally 40 minutes before we were coming on air. The ADC have announced the Global Championship to bring the curtain down on their end of season every year in collaboration with the Motor Super Series.
Yes.
The total prize fund of £85,000. I am just going to get the press release up here and read off of it, and then we'll discuss. So, the announcement is ADC Global Championship, Motor Super Series to host the inaugural ADC Global Championship. The amateur darts circuit, the ADC, will stage a new landmark event in December 2024 in collaboration with the Motor Super Series. The inaugural ADC Global World Championship will see 24 players compete for a share of the prize fund of $85,000, with the first global champion set to pocket in excess of £25,000. The event will take place over 2 weeks, from Monday the 9th to Sunday the 22nd of December 2024 at the Motor Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and will be streamed on the Motor Super Series YouTube channel. The event will feature the top-ranked ADC players from various ranking systems, including the top 2 women from the WADC Tour. The ADC's 4 top players from the UK rankings will be joined by the top 4 UK Windmill Tour player rankings. In addition, the number 1 ranked player from Southern Europe, Belgium, East Europe, the Netherlands, Nordic rankings will be awarded places, along with the Benelux Open champion. Further spots will be filled via qualifying events from Oceania, South Africa, the Netherlands, Belgium, Ireland, North UK, South UK, and a World Seniors qualifier. And then we've got some quotes from Scott. Let's go down to the next bit. The event will follow the format of the Motor Super Series, with 12 players competing in best-of-7 group games each week to reach Saturday night's finals. One of the 6 players finals night, and then grand finals on Sunday the 22nd of December. Let me go to page 2 to see if there's anything on there we need to bring up before we discuss.
It's the money.
The grand finals will carry a prize fund of $55,000, with the winner claiming the $25,000 first prize. Additional prize money will be received for the qualifying weeks. In addition, a $1,000 bonus prize will be offered for a 9-darter hit during grand finals. The quarterfinals will be played over best of 11, semi-finals best of 13, and the grand finals over best of 17. More details on the qualifying event to be announced soon. We've been calling on this for a long time. It's now here. I've got a couple of bits on it as well, but first of all, this is a very, very good thing for the amateur game.
Its existence, very, very good. Link up with a Super Series, despite the fact that I work for it, is very good. That the venue is built for something like this.
Yep.
That's what it's there for. You're not good. There isn't a better stage to play darts on. There's no excuses. We'll get some crowd in. Look, there won't be a crowd well, it'd be brilliant if there was a crowd every day, and this is marketed that way. The one drawback and concern I have is the time of year.
that's on my list as well.
Because
time of
at
year-
that point, you're going up against the
But-
WWF World Championship and the PDC World Championship. There will be an overlap with both of those things.
But, and this is probably so I tend to agree on all. I think the qualification is superb. I love the idea of everywhere that they're taking people from. I think it's absolutely brilliant, like perfect. I'm not a fan of the format only because I don't like the idea of this event lifting the Super Series format. I didn't even realize, I didn't read that far until Phil read it out there. I would have liked if they'd have come up with their own format. My assumption, and you two might be able to answer me, or you might not, is that they wouldn't go nose to nose and run alongside the same timings as the PDC, by and large. Would they look to avoid that, like we see with the Super Series? You know, we see Super Series running on Thursday evenings, getting started after the Premier League finishes. Like, is it? And if that's the case, if they're going to look at their day, their programming, and fitting that, not running really hard, hard against the PDC, is it a really clever strategy in benefiting from everyone in the country being in darts mode at that time and watching loads of darts and taking it, taking and capitalizing on that? I'm not sure. My overarching view is if I was to run anything in darts, it wouldn't be in those 3 weeks, probably, or certainly that last week. Personally, it's mint because I knock off early for Christmas and I'm almost guaranteed to be available and free to travel down to Portsmouth to take in some of that.
Dan, you've got to stay at home and do the Fallout bar, because if it's linked up with the Super Series, I'm going to be in the building and can no longer stream.
Yeah, but you've got internet now. I can stop at your house. I can come back and do the Fallout there.
So, yeah, I completely agree. But one, it's fabulous now. The ADC have got an end of season tournament. It's something that we've been calling for a long, long time. And
not calling it a world champion is mint in an era where there are far too many world champions.
That is a massive plus.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm skeptical of the times because I want as many eyes on it as possible. And I'm not sure at that time of year all eyes will be on it.
Well, it is pre-Christmas PDC, though, isn't it? It's not like it's running hard against, last 32.
No, but the grand final on the Sunday the 22nd, I would want all eyes on that because I think it's going to be brilliant. But you're going to be going up against a double session at Ali Pally. And that's my concern, that it won't get the eyes on it it deserves because everyone will be watching Alexandra Palace.
My next concern is staffing it, because everybody that's your top tier broadcast team that we have at the Super Series are the TalkSport team.
Correct.
Again, I remain available at that time of year to travel down to Portsmouth.
The other thing that I said to Dan about off air, and I'll say it again, both organisations, the Super Series and the ADC as well, also have to make it feel special and not just a specials week for the Super Series. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Will we see? And do you think?
I think that's
we
important.
can referee in a different colour polo shirt and get some more branding on the stage.
Do we? I was going to say, do you think we see a different stage image? Well, obviously, we might see different sponsors, because I assume that the ADC sponsors will be looking for sponsors for this event. I mean, I would be if I was in charge of them. I'd be looking for sponsors for this event, and the first thing I'd want to sell is that sponsored image on the stage. Yeah, that's what. I think, and immediately you change the look by straight away, don't you?
Yeah, and I'm sure the powers that be for both will get this right, but I think that's something important that they have to get right. Is it has to look and feel different to anything from a Super Series week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the colour schemes have to be different. Slides have to be, everything has to be different to make it feel as special as it should be. Do you know what I mean?
I would have liked a change in format, just to make it really clear because when you turn it on, we don't want to look at, and you don't want people tuning in and thinking, oh, it's a super series, it's a special week, they've put a different stage on, or they've got some new sponsors, and I think that even just a slight change in format would have done that. It would have made it really clear that this isn't that. This is something else. This is a big special thing that happens once a year. That would have been I would have thought just a slight change in format might have done that.
I mean, I don't know how to phrase it or how to say it, but I guess we know why the format's staying the same, because of who the product is initially designed for and propped up by, and that's still going to be a big point of. Look,
of course it is. Look, we're not naive.
Put bombs on seats every single day for 2 weeks solid. So if you've not got ticket sales, you've got to fund your prize fund somehow.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which is why I get it. Which is why I say that it has to feel different.
Yeah,
is the thing. Otherwise, if it's just the same format and looks the same, I think the general public watching it will just go, oh, it's a specials week. Do you know, and I don't want that, because I want it to be given the full treatment it deserves, because it is brilliant. I disagree with the way the world is now. The way people consume content is completely different. If we're going back 5 or 6 years, I would agree that TV is a must. But the way people have smart TVs, the way people consume content now, I think YouTube. If you've got a successful broadcast on YouTube, it's as good as a TV broadcast.
Yeah, I've noticed. So when it was on sporty stuff, I had the Sky Q link on that, and it would just drop there into my recordings all the time. Yeah. Now, if anything else, it's sort of the same in that I just because it's a smart TV, everything's got the YouTube app connected to it. You just press YouTube and there it is there anyway. So it still doesn't. You still don't have to watch it live. You can watch it on catch up. You can fast forward it. You can pause it. You can do it really. If you want to watch it, you can. You can watch it. Anyone can watch it if they want to. And argue. So then all you're missing out on, in theory, is your sort of channel flickers. Those who are flicking through the channels looking for something to watch and stumble upon you. I can't remember what number on Sky Sporty stuff was, but if it's a fucking
27.
It's a dry night, isn't it? If you've got that far through, just flicking up, and chance on someone who's never watched darts before, sticking with it. I think they know that it's a targeted market who tune in. They're not really looking for channel switches, channel flickers to stumble upon it, are they?
With this announcement, does this change the landscape for amateur darts, especially within the UK? Because this is the thing that we've said that the WDF still had the advantage over. Does this now change the status quo?
I think you'll see a few more flocking towards the Tour Championship. The fact they closed entries on that previously because it was oversubscribed, they've got to find a way to accommodate more people now for the tour events that we've seen up in Middlesbrough, and I think there's the next one in Aylesbury, etc.
The next two are in Aylesbury, yeah.
You've got to ensure that your event can hold as many people that are going to want to be there now. You've just dangled a massive carrot in front of people. You need that to be open to as many as possible.
Yeah.
Also, a seniors qualifier, I missed that bit. Just what I need, another weekend away from home.
That's you getting that's graft for you, man. That's putting bread on the table, though. These people are putting bread on the table.
Well, it means it's going both ways, though, because actually, as part of the announcements made by the World Seniors Darts Tour in February at the World Championships heading towards 2025, there will be a spot for an over 50 ADC player at the World Seniors Darts Championship. So this is their way of reciprocating that, I guess, and we'll have an over 50 seniors player in the ADC Global Championship.
But I think surely that is amateur darts.
Yeah.
working well, isn't it? Like that's how
100%. That's the power that can be bought when you work together.
And this is it. And if you but what that is that's grown-ups establishing themselves as competent and trustworthy people, you know, who do what they say and say what they do, and then you can form relationships because you can trust that they'll happen. Like, it's very difficult to form relationships when you it's difficult to make a relationship with someone when you're 90% sure that their event either won't go ahead or will be a catastrophe. When you've got that assurance there, it's easier for everybody to come to the table.
Yeah, I just think I think it's a great move for the amateur game. It's another massive tick and a massive plus. I think it's really, really good. So kudos to all involved. What else have we missed? What other talking points?
Week 1.
Yes, week 1 of the new Motor Super Series, and look, what a final it was. I like both lads that were in the final. Part of me was a little bit gutted for Justin, but then the other half of me was really, really happy for Tom Sykes. We'll do Tom first of all. What a player he is developing into. Love his action. Love his application. And I'm starting to put him in the same bracket as Darryl Pilgrim, that could be a massive danger once he gets his card.
Yeah, he is one of the most well-equipped players we've seen come through those doors right now. And the scary thing is, he's got 6 months more until realistically he's not allowed in that building again, because right now there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Tom Sykes picks up a tour card next year.
100%.
He is a fantastic talent. His scoring power is ridiculous. Bit of a first start merchant, but he also has the ability. The players I absolutely love right now in the amateur game are the players that can ignore a dart that just sits below the wire and throw straight through it as if it's not even there.
Yep.
And Tom Sykes is one of them. And another one that I'm quite big on, didn't have the best weekend at the Challenge Tour this weekend, is Joe Croft. The fact that they can just absolutely ignore a dart sitting below, but are also adept at switching around, right? That's the other thing. It's not, we're just glutton for punishment and only play on the treble 20 a la Martin Adams last week. It's, if we can get through that, we're going to ignore the fact that that blocker is there, but we're also confident enough to go, well, I'm on 262, so I need to use the 18s, or 306, so I should start downstairs, or 271, 19s. Like, they're the big giveaway signs that the players know what they're doing as well at the moment. Yeah, Tom is incredibly well back. Yorkshire is not a small county, but they're one that is possibly underrepresented at the very, very top of the game at the minute.
In their history, yes.
Yeah. Great lad, great mentality, great application, taking everything in stride as well. Just fantastic talent and so much nerve as well. The amount of times we've seen that in last leg deciders and the ability to just 2 180s in a decided leg. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, an incredible talent and will go on to very good things. But also, what I'm going to say here is nothing I haven't said to Justin either. But could you imagine how good Justin Smith could be if he applied himself a little bit more?
When he came in on, I'm not even sure it's out yet.
The Bullseye
Challenge on the Thursday, I was like, damn. That is seriously good.
Yeah. If he applied himself a little bit more, again, he is a PDC player in waiting. He's that good.
I'm not even sure it's application, you know. There's a little technicality in his throw where he brings it round to set. And if he holds it there for not even half a second, but a little pause at the top, solid. Sometimes he brings it round because he's got not as dramatic, but he sets it in place from the side. He doesn't quite let it get there before he wants to get rid of it.
Yeah, No, I don't. It
That's when he was missing.
It was a brilliant final from
great finals night as well. Let's not forget Bradley Roos really struggled at the start of the week. I had a couple of conversations with him at the start. I know a couple of other people did as well. Wrist injury, but also I think what wasn't mentioned was the fact that Bradley qualified for Champions Week through Series 7, like week 2, week 3. He then had an awful long time sitting around to play in that Champions Week, gets to Champions Week in a tough Group B or C, whichever one it was, and doesn't quite deliver in an incredibly competitive Champions Week. So it doesn't go to plan. He spends half a week visiting Red Dragon, where he's tinkering about with custom-made darts a little. We had them on him during Champions Week, used them on the second day because there wasn't really a lot to play for by then. And then has rocked up again, and it's not gone to plan day 1 and day 2. For somebody who is World Youth Champion and expects levels of himself and competitiveness to not be producing, what we saw from Bradley last week was a young player learning and growing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that nobody's really got on his back at this point, because when we saw an even younger Leighton Bennett at the Lakeside stropping when he's missed a dart or not quite going his way, he got hammered for being petulant.
Well, there was a moment, I think it was on Tuesday, that Bradley did have a real petulant moment. But I believe that the gentleman and the godfather of darts that he is, that Wolfie put a little arm around him in the practice room afterwards and on Wednesday, and we didn't see it again, which 100% I can live with that. Every young player at some point will have a petulant moment, but it's learning from it. And the way Wolfie put an arm around him, and I think that helped Bradley as well.
Yeah, but that's a perk of the format, isn't it? One, it can absolutely destroy you. You can get caught up in losing and being a rut. But actually, it gives you a second chance to get back at this. The maturity and the turnaround from Bradley into that Group C campaign and then into finals night as well, which is an incredibly tough finals night, but made the semi-finals 2 fantastic semi-finals as well. And I'm going to shout out the other semi-finalists in a minute. Was incredible.
Yeah.
That's the level that we don't see from some professionals, but to be able to turn it around that short space of time and put it behind him and re-establish himself as dominant in the group that he ended up in was fantastic from him. And that's something he's got to keep with him for when he's inevitably back next year or next series or whatever way it falls in that one and onto the development tour and beyond. The other player in the semi-finals that we absolutely must talk about, the Andy Hamilton resurgence, is so good.
Yeah, I'm with you.
His 180 on Thursday night was unbelievable.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, everything he's doing it's working, isn't it?
Yeah, it was so good. To be fair, the Group B itself was brilliant. Revelino, there's definitely a young diamond in there that can be moulded. First time I'd seen him up close, and look, there was inconsistencies, but there was enough in there to say, look, that if he carries on, there's a player within there. I thought Jamie Kellin was solid again. At the eye catching was at 105, and again narrowly missed out in a good group. It was just an all round good flavour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had the best view of it.
Yeah,
and gave Owen the Saturday night. Yeah, you carry on, pal.
Another one that came out over the week. It came up in the chat room. It doesn't look like it looks like a bit of split between Leighton Bennett and his management company. It prompted me when you said there. A little bit murky. Look, everyone has seen those videos. Look, I'm just going to say how it is. Leighton's a very lucky lad. He wasn't arrested.
Yeah, I'm fairly surprised that he wasn't, and I can only assume he's benefited from darts not being a sport that is really under the microscope of the broader mainstream media, and the fact that their focus is loot litter and everything else, because you do sort of think it would have only took one mainstream journalist to pick up on that and get sent that in the wrong WhatsApp chat or something like that before it gathers some wheels. And I feel like he's totally got away with one there. He might not feel like it, but in the grand scheme of things, he probably has.
Yeah, look, what goes on behind closed doors, look, we don't know. But just in terms of those videos, he's a very lucky lad.
I mean, we know an awful lot of what goes on behind closed doors. This is what we do. But yeah, 100%. Look, he is a young man who has a ridiculous amount of talent. But as the years go on, the stories get more and more ridiculous about his behaviour and where he's being led and where he ends up, or the actions that he then produces off the hockey. And he will... The worry right now is that Leighton Bennett becomes a warning of what not to be for players in the JDC system.
Yeah, you'll have
literally end up with the Jekyll and Hyde at the top.
You'll have two pictures, you'll have one of Luke Littler, one of Leighton Bennett.
Do this, don't do this.
Yeah,
and they will be compared and contrasted
100%
for the next 30 years.
What he needs, I know, and again, there's probably people.
That's what he needs.
Well, there's people who will be far more in the loop on these things than I. But obviously, there's been a separation from his management company, and what he needs is for whomever is taking over that management, to do, to be, and I don't know who it is, but I hope whoever it is, they are able to guide him, because he probably does need, and clearly from the actions that we have seen, he needs some direction and control, and if that new management can give him that direction and control, then we could have a hell of a dart player that had a bit of a blip, and that is really what he needs. At a little bit, it feels like a bit of a rudderless ship, and there's clearly been some problems between that. I don't know. It almost felt a little bit like an overlap potentially, or if there wasn't an overlap, he maybe tried to. There's clearly been some complications between that move, that shift, but it can just be hoped that the new management team and stable that he ends up aligned with are able to guide him and lead him and develop him into a, functioning, civilized member of society who's also very, very good at darts.
For me, part of that is an if. If he ends up with a new management team. Now, we know that the break reported was because he was allegedly trying to make a break. But actually, now that it's been reported in such a way, do you still pursue him in that manner?
Somebody will, won't they?
Will they?
I mean,
because look, there's another line in that statement that says that they hope that the investigations around him or whatever aren't. Jack,
there are sports agents and management companies who have taken on willingly far, far, far bigger problems than Leighton Bennett with a smile on their face because there might be a few quid in it for them. Let's not paint everybody with our own management.
Have they outed out a management company or the one that he was talking to or whatever? Do you then look bad publicly if you announce him a week later or 2 weeks later? And if there is still investigation, do you take that risk early or do you wait until you see the outcomes of whatever his former management were hinting at?
I think the one he was talking to will probably know about the stuff that was being hinted at.
Yeah,
I would hazard a guess.
Yeah, you would assume that they're not finding things out for the first time, wouldn't you? You would assume that they've been probably already offering some guidance to him on how to deal with the situation as it unfolds.
But like we say, interesting to see. Right, get your questions in. Can't finish up a live lounge without question time. While you get those in, have we missed anything else, boys?
I feel like now is a really, really, really good time to remind everybody that we will be doing this in person in less than 4 weeks, and we've not given anybody the location or the branding or gone, yes, join us here at this time. Because
we will get some stuff.
You live in the middle of nowhere, and we need to get a few more people to come and watch us chat shit in person.
we will get some stuff out this week, but it is going to be Saturday, the 6th of July. Dan, you can tell them where it is.
Yeah, it's at the Billingham Catholic Club. It's not a Catholic club. It's just an old name of a building. But it's, we're going to be in the ghetto. Hopefully we get the weather, because we've got nice big marquee outside, outdoor bar. We've got a stage set up, so we'll be able to do some content and interviews and chats on the stage with some backdrops. And we've got some darts boards set up, so we can do some bits with some darts as well. There's a band on from, I think, probably about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So we'll probably be spending the afternoon doing afternoon things. There's a band on inside, so anybody that's into that sort of thing can go inside and enjoy that. We'll probably be outside in the marquee until God knows when. It's going to be good fun. There's going to be loads of real ale on. There'll be loads of other stuff on as well.
Cider.
Might even like the barbecue.
Cider.
Adam, good question. That unlikely, but if England do make the final,
weird shit.
I said unlikely, but if they do, I do believe there is a plan in action for the match play times to move.
Yeah, there would be, wouldn't there?
Yeah,
we've talked about this in previous years, haven't we?
Yeah, the same as it in Minehead when they did that super long session.
Yeah,
that there will be a plan for if England are in the final, the darts will not clash with the final.
No.
If it does, I'll be watching the football. Sorry. Not sorry. The Grand Slam schedule is out, and once again, we'll play all of the finals on the same day.
Yeah. At the moment, he is still suspended, pending an investigation by the DRA. How long that investigation will take, or how long down the road it is, I don't know. But until that investigation has been concluded, he is suspended. My guess is that there will also be a suspension after the investigation.
I couldn't resist a chuckle there, just because the wording of the question was he couldn't play in the PDC or darts in general. And immediately, sometimes my brain just paints scenarios in it really fast. And when it said in just banned from darts in general, that he would be completely banned, and that he wouldn't be allowed a board up in his house, and someone would go around, like the equivalent of the TV license man, just to make sure that he hasn't put a board up in his house, just to double looking through the windows to make sure he's not throwing darts. If they catch him, they extend his suspension even further.
Gob, you've got the seniors.
I genuinely thought we talked about it.
Nope.
I told you I don't know what that is. 2 events in Newbury then. Matt Clark picking up a title in the first one. That placed him really nicely in the race to the Tavern, the new 1-year ranking list. At the top 4 of that, not already qualified elsewhere, will book their spot at the World Championship. And then it was a welcome return to the winner's circle for Robert Thornton. It's been a while since he's picked up a seniors title. He played brilliantly on the Sunday as well. Much needed. I don't want to say too much, but could be quite a significant shift in the rankings in the next few weeks.
Interesting.
You could play in England darts again if he doesn't insult anyone on social media. He's probably fucking welcome, isn't he? Probably full of...
Well, can we go back to that though? How long does that investigation take? It's not as if they need to go to the venue to get the fucking CCTV. You can pull it off Twitter, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they're fucking busy.
3 eyewitness accounts: him, the marker, and the other player about what happened. Pull him in and have a conversation, and then fucking get it done.
Yeah, to be fair, and I agree. Why doesn't someone just say, "We just put that meeting in on Tuesday morning"?
Yeah,
we'll just do that, and it'll be done by Tuesday lunchtime.
Yeah. Why is it taking this long?
we could be in Wetherspoons by 12 o'clock. Let's deal with him on Tuesday morning and get cracked on.
You could take the meeting in Spoons on their Wi-Fi.
This is the DRA we're talking about now.
Meeting could be in Spoons.
Let's just do what they want, don't they? Not saying that's right, by the way, but it's just they do things we'll get case notes for 3 years ago soon.
We still don't have the second half of 2023. I've just looked.
No, I know, yeah.
Mega.
Yeah. So, yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Brock, we spoke about MVG's action last week. I just think that mechanical changes have snuck in and he's not addressed them, and it's ended up in the position we are now. We spoke about it quite a lot last week.
Yeah, there's a fine line between a throw naturally evolving and a throw that is going to cause you serious issues. And my worry is that Michaels may well end up in the second category because he's overworking it and because his combatant to that is to go up in weight of the darts. So they're going to work even harder. But look, the fact that Michael is aware of issues with his throw and is working with Van der Voort, etc., to try and put those right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't disagree at all. Everyone, thank you very, very much for the last few hours. This will be available as an audio only in the morning, so will be available on all good podcast providers. But thank you very much for your time. As always, if you haven't yet, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. Plenty going on, and all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, you name it, we are on it. But boys, it's been a really, really good show. As always, thank you very much for your time. We will be back again next week, but plenty going on. So here at Online Darts, thank you very much. Myself, Phil Bars, Jack Garwin and Dan Simpson, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye.